Hello, Old School RuneScape. Welcome to the next stream. This is the Old School RuneScape leadership stream. Firstly, apologies for the delay. We were hoping to publish the Kieren Gazette, September's edition, in time for the stream, but we made an error somewhere. I think the blog is too long, or I've made a mistake with the HTML. But we're going to work on that, and we decided to go live with the stream and then publish the blog afterward. So don't type !Gazette because the link is dead. I mean, you can. The link is dead. Right, I am delighted to be joined by Mod Mike D, Mod Kieren.
Hello, hello.
And Mod SteveW. Behind the scenes, we have got Mod Spear making magic happen as always, and Mod Sani is on the chat. Any questions for us? At Old School RS, and he'll be passing them along. We'll go with announcements. Leagues 2, Trailblazer. So lots of comments about this, please. The one thing I was going to point to is in the Gazette. It's a massive article talking about the design and really cool stuff, showing off some great images. But I guess to the players, close your eyes and pretend we're showing you some cool stuff. Some nice animations and transitions and interfaces and stuff. Poll recently closed, everything passed, and we'll be talking about release dates really, really soon. But not today, not that soon. The second announcement I've got, because I'm going to skip over the Gazette because that's not ready for you, is Prime Gaming is here. So !Prime, you can get 7 days of membership when you link your Old School RuneScape account to Prime Gaming from now until October 13th. And that about wraps up the announcements we've got. So let's find out how we're doing. I'm going to go to Mike first, then Kieren, and then Steve. So Mike, how's it going? What have you been up to this past week?
Well, it's been busy, with all this planning and whatnot. And now I'm like sitting here going, what can I talk about? Because, I've been up for a long time. I'm out in Texas, so I'm very sleepy. So now I'm like, wait, I know what we're supposed to talk about, but am I going to blurt something out? Like, am I going to say, oh, Steam, and go, oh, I'm not supposed to talk about Steam. So let's just keep it as this. I'm super excited about this stream, and let's get on getting on.
Let's get on getting on. Okay, Mod Kieren, how are you? What have you been up to this past week?
I'm good. I'm really good. We've actually been doing something pretty interesting this week. Basically, the whole content dev team, all the development teams in Old School right now, bar a handful of things, are working on the same thing. And it's not new content, but you might have heard us mention before, like a bunch of our interfaces are an old format. We can't update them. We have to convert and recreate the whole thing. So essentially what we're doing is spending the whole of this week and next week just looking at some of the old interfaces and converting them. And that's to allow us to actually start updating them in future. It's one reason we can't change the inventory and do much of the inventory because it needs this to happen. So that's why we're doing that. It's going really well. It's been a lot of fun. So that's been interesting. And I've been in loads of planning as well. So planning's fun. We've been talking about how we planning better because we've done things not necessarily the best way in the last few years. We're trying to improve, become a better company, becoming a better team on this game.
Okay, maybe we can talk about planning shortly. All right, last but not least, Mod SteveW. Do you want to give us a bit of an intro first of all, like who you are, what your role is, and then tell us how you're doing and what you've been up to?
So I'm Steve, or SteveW. I've been with Jagex for 13 years, mainly in player support, but did spend a short time in community management as well. I'm currently the Old School player support manager. This week, I'm actually on holiday from work this week, but that's kind of strange in these times. It just means you move from one room in your house to another, really. So I've been on holiday. My son's gone off to university this week, so I've been moving him down to Brighton on the south coast of the UK. He's gone to university there, so that's what I've been doing this week. But really looking forward to the stream. Quite unusual for player sport to be here, so looking forward to it.
We'll try and get you more camera time. You're appearing popular. Some people have said you look like the default RuneScape character, or you're from Breaking Bad, or maybe
that's
you're
my
even
lockdown haircut, that is. I joke that I went to the barber and said, cut the grey out, and this is what happened.
We do appreciate you taking the time on your holiday. Okay, first batch of questions I've got. So they can concern an announcement yesterday. So yesterday, RuneScape announced that they were going to be launching on Steam. Part of that announcement also revealed that Old School was coming to Steam. Naturally, a lot of players had a lot of questions. I'd like to preface this first of all by saying RuneScape's announcement came yesterday because they're ready to announce. They're ready to release in October. That's really soon. That's why they've kind of given a lot of information because they want you to go and add it to the wish list and get ready for the release. We haven't given you that level of information yet because we are still some time away. We hope to be joining RuneScape on Steam in early 2021. That's still some time away just yet. So you might be really hungry for lots of info, and we want to give it to you, but we can't just yet. So you might have to wait a couple of months. So first question I've got, Mike, I'm going to come to you first because it kind of ties into the stuff you were talking about in the last Gazette. So why are RuneScape and Old School going to Steam? What's the point?
So, what is the point? I'm done. No, what I was saying, the point is what I said the last time we talked, which was, how do we get more eyeballs on this game, right? We have this really cool game, Old School, right? How do we get it in front of more people? And Steam, well, I mean, it is, you want to get 100 million sets of eyes on this, this is the place to take it to, right? And I won't go into the details, and I don't think I'm allowed to talk about the details, but the response that we have gotten from new players on Steam in just 24 hours for RuneScape has been bonkers. So, like I said, there's some people there that will have not seen RuneScape or even Old School, and they'll check it out. They'll try to play it. They'll have a good time. I'm sure of it, and then they'll become members, and that's the whole point, right? More members.
Cool. So a lot of players are wondering, are they going to be forced to play using Steam? I think this is the type of stuff we can talk about.
Yeah. No, of course not.
You'll still be able to play it via our own client. That's not going to change. So
cool. So on that topic, I'm skipping ahead here on the list, apologies. So we've had lots of questions about the game client and other clients and how they interact with Steam. I think we can't really go into much detail, but we are confident that we're working towards the best resolution for all players. That's all we can share with you just now. And we'll be talking more about Steam in the coming months, like I said. So Mike, coming back to you again, what does the team hope that, or what do we hope that a Steam release might do for our game? You mentioned more players. Is there any like membership target or active player target in mind?
Well, like I said, again, to all these points, we're definitely going to be transparent. We're going to talk about as much as we possibly can. I can't turn around and say, hey, we want to get 1 million more people or 2 million more people, or, we do want to do all those things. We want to increase daily active users. We want to get all these people to go in and try the game. And ultimately, if I had my druthers over a period of X number of years, I want to double, maybe triple the amount of players that are playing this game, right? Like I said, I came into this game, I played it a long time ago, and then I came into it late again, right? And I've been on the team for about 10 months, and I've been playing the game actively, and I'm having a blast, right? I get to choose, and this is going to be a trite way to say it, but I get to choose my own adventure. I get to play the way I want to play, and this kind of open sandbox, I know is going to be appealing to a lot of people, right? We just got to get it in front of them, show them what we got. Steam is just such a great avenue to do that. So millions and millions of players and subscribers.
Millions and millions sounds good to us. Right, okay. Next question I've got is similar to one we answered last time. Does it mean Old School could then come to other platforms in future? Maybe other online stores or consoles, that kind of stuff?
My hope is yes to all of that, right? New regions, new channels, everywhere, right? That's the whole Old School everywhere, right? How do we take this thing everywhere? Yeah, I'm just going to sound like a broken record. I can't say it enough, right? This game has got a vibe to it, right? It's classic. It's got something to it that I think people will love as soon as they discover it, right? And that's what this is. It's discovery. Steam is a way that we can get more people to discover the game. And again, if you start, I can't share the numbers, but it's super exciting already in just 24 hours. It's been, there's a lot of people. And if you don't, get on there, follow it, follow RuneScape, follow us.
Okay, I've seen some concerns from players talking about like Steam DLC. So I've summarized this question. Will being on Steam change the way we monetize our game?
Oh, no. I said it, maybe this should be like part everyone. No MTX. There's going to be no MTX on this. This is a way for us to get the game out there so that players can interact with. There are MMOs on that platform that are just subscription-based MMOs. That's what we are. That's what we do. We do it very well, and that's what we're going to stick to doing. Again, this is a way to get eyeballs on it, right? And if someone wants to join us and they want to become a member, then that's how we move forward. That's how we make revenue. That's how we stay successful.
Cool. Okay, the last question I've got, talking about Steam, and I know a lot of players are really, really hungry for way more detail than we're able to share right now. In the Gazette, we do kind of touch upon the reasons why we can't give you more information. You know, we see you say that. So the reaction I've seen from a lot of players is, it sounds great, but unless you fix a lot of problems with the game and with the infrastructure surrounding the game, we don't think you'll do well on Steam, or we don't think you'll do as well as you could do. And we agree. So we've got more to do in the background. And that kind of stuff in the background, that's the secret stuff, which we hope to be talking to you more about soonish.
And perhaps, and just perhaps, that's one of the core reasons why we're waiting until the early part of or 2021 to do this, is because we have heard you, and we need to make sure we're doing the best thing we can for the game.
And I've seen a lot of people saying, why are the secret? Why can't you just tell us? Various reasons, but I hope that when we start sharing these secrets, we can tell you why they were secret. That makes sense to me. I think so. We'll aim to do that as well as we can. But I do acknowledge that from a player's perspective, it might just seem like we're just bullshitting. All right, last question I've got, Kieren, I know you enjoyed this one earlier. So does RuneScape and Old School go into Steam mean that FunOrb games will be added to Steam as well?
Not necessarily, no. But I mean, obviously, I'd love that. I'd love to see some of those make come alive again. But there's not current plans to, no.
So the way I kind of answered this last night on a Reddit reply was, there aren't any plans for it. But also, we're the Old School team. We're going to talk about Old School news. We're not. If there were plans, it wouldn't be us sharing this news. Like, we work on Old School. Old School's our focus. Similarly, RuneScape work on RuneScape. RuneScape is their focus. They won't be talking about FunOrb and stuff. That would come straight from Jagex directly. That kind of thing. All right, I'm going to trawl through some of the chat questions, see if any are Steam related. If not, we will crack on with some other leadership related questions. Nothing directly related to Steam that we haven't already answered, or we can't answer. So, Mod, Kieren, I'm going to come to you with this one. With the recent post regarding wanting quality of life improvements for existing minigames, instead of adding new minigames, what does it mean for the fishing boss we proposed? Is it still planned to be polled soon? Is it delayed, or is it even cancelled?
So, regarding... Okay, there's so many parts of this question. Let me figure that out. What does this mean for the new fishing boss? I'll start with fishing boss. Fishing boss, we are still going to pull soon-ish. I think we're planning currently to pull it like middle of October, I think. But in terms of actually developing it and releasing it, that will now be, we're thinking, 2021, early 2021. But we still want to blog it and pull it early so we have a chance to then go away and give it the time it needs to be the content you all want it to be. So it's not cancelled, but we are giving it more time. As for all the other quality of life stuff, existing minigames in the Pool 73 blog, we have just literally been talking about that actually the last couple of days. We've been going through all these suggestions and working out what are we going to put into our future pool soon. So those are going to be talked about very soon.
Yeah, me, you, and Mod Rock were on a call last night, kind of running through them, weren't we? I think our aim is to get some of the mini-game qual stuff in front of players as soon as next week. Might be ambitious, but that's what we're going to work toward. Okay, next question. When will we hear anything more about account security?
Well, I'll say this. Okay, again, we can only talk about so much. But I will say I've literally been working with teams throughout the company, including Mod, Steve, about things we can do to better tackle this. And that's beside the ongoing things that we are doing already and have planned coming in the not too distant future. I think that's vague enough to still be secure, but it is the truth.
I mean, you know, we share the frustration on this. We hear people on this, and it's very difficult for us because we know what's going on behind the scenes and what technical challenges there are, and that where the technical resource needs to be used. And unfortunately, there's been other priorities ahead of account security, but that doesn't mean that nothing's ever going to happen. We've done some things, so the authenticator flow through the website, that's now in place, so it's made web login a little bit more secure. We've tightened up our account recovery, and you've probably seen on social channels, you used to quite regularly see, you know, accounts been hijacked and given away and things like that. And, you know, hopefully you've seen a lot less of that because we've tightened up our internal quality on that, and we've tightened up our process on account recovery. But ultimately, can't get away from the fact that the whole account security issue does need looking at. And, you know, we share the frustration, we're well aware of it, we're doing everything we can. And if we can do something to help people, then we will. You're not hearing anything from us, but it doesn't mean that it's not in our mind and we're not trying to fix things. So please bear with us a bit. We share the frustration and we're going to try and fix things.
I do think it's important to call out the fact that the team that has been most actively working on this, correct me if I'm wrong, has been working on this pretty much, you know, nonstop. The dev team is not necessarily the team that's going to be tackling this. Even player support, you know, it's tech. And our people have been working on this for quite some time, and we're going to see a resolution to this. I know we will, but again, we got to ask you to bear with us.
So, Steve, you mentioned other priorities, and some, like I see in the chat, some people were curious as to what those priorities are. What we have said historically, so I don't mind saying it again. I know I'm allowed because we said it already before. Our biggest priority at the moment is mitigating some serious attacks, some serious login attacks. So at the worst of times, it's made the whole game unplayable. And at the best of times, I guess, regularly, it can even make some players unable to log in. So that is priority number one, making sure people can log in and play. Which then takes me to my next question, which is, when will we hear more about the too many login attempts issue?
I mean, that's a similar one, and it's related, and I know it's really frustrating. If that's happening to you, that issue, I know it just feels like the worst thing in the world, and you can't do what seems to be a very simple thing, just log in and play. There's obviously good intent behind it. There's some brute force mitigation stuff there, which is what's actually causing the issue. It is a relatively small number of people in terms of everyone that's playing, but of course that doesn't matter if you're experiencing that problem. We're going to look and try and do some fixes. I mean, Mike and I were even talking about this earlier today and see if there is something we can do. We're looking at Mike's had some real crazy out-the-box ideas, and you know, we'll kind of look at them. It's too early to guarantee anything, but you know, we're going to try and see if there's anything we can do to try and fix it for those people that do have the issue. I mean, you can report it to us, and that does help us keep a log of people who are experiencing the issue. You can do that through our support centre, and that just lets us know you're having the problem. And for some people, if you wait for a little bit of a cool down, you will then be okay. I also know that there's a sort of equal number of people where that doesn't work. So we are trying to find some solutions. Again, we're pretty sure that there is something coming in the sort of near future that will be a real shot in the arm for this and can kind of really help us with it. But in the interim, we're going to try and help that relatively small number of people, but really important people that are frustrated by it, and see if we can do something ad hoc to help them. But yeah, too early to say because I don't want to make promises. But Mike and I are both working on that at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Mike.
Just to add, I'd add one small thing, and I've seen a number of people say this via, like, on Twitter. I've seen people comment on this. I've seen people mention it in Twitch chat. Like, do this, like, the most senior people in Jagex know about it, etc.? Yes. I mean, the whole organization has known about this stuff for a while. The whole executive team, the most senior people at Jagex are well aware this is a serious problem and are behind us trying to sort it. So it isn't for a lack of trying. It's not an excuse that we have a lot of tech problems and, you know, what's more important, a number of people can't log in versus potentially the whole game server goes offline and nobody can log in. It's a crap position for us to be in, and none of us want to be in that position. We want to solve them, but it is entering. We've got to tackle these things in the right order, given the limited amount of tech capacity they've got. I mean, again, not an excuse, but our tech is old. We've been RuneScape's existed since 2001. It's about to be our 20th anniversary. A lot of this tech is not much newer than that, and so there's limited expertise. It's not a case of just going out there and saying, you know programming, let's hire you and you can sort it. It takes specific expertise, that some of which is only in certain people's heads inside the company. That's a lot of teaching other people around them to help bring them up to speed. So what I'm trying to get at is I wish we could just go and get more heads in the office and fix it tomorrow, but it is a little bit more difficult than that.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Kieren and Mike. So the next question I've got is, Mike D, I'm going to come to you with this one. So we keep talking about team growth, which is amazing. How big are we trying to grow the team? Like, how big do you think the old school team needs to be able to do what we want to do?
Well, I mean, it'd be easy just to say to double the size of the team, right? That would be the amount of work that the team has done over the past 7 years is tremendous. But I want, and again, I know this is the same way you feel, Sween. I don't want to call you by your nom de gore, but
already.
All right, cool. All right, because it feels weird, right? So, Alec, I know you feel the same way, but I want to talk to players more, right? I want to get out way ahead of this. If I could have you sit in the room with us while we were brainstorming these things, I'd do it in a heartbeat, right? I want, and to do that, to be able to have that level of interaction, we need more staff. We need more community guys. We need more devs. We need more artists to support those devs. We need more QA embedded in those teams. Steve needs guys so to deal with the influx of people going to come in from Steam and other places. We know all these things, and that's where we're going, right? We're increasing the size of the team to support the player base that we have, and hopefully even more in the future. That being said, if I was to say a number, I don't know, 25 more people, I'd want to really kind of push into it, because the thing that I want to do is I want to enable us to make content for everyone, right? In the past, we have polls, right? And polls are never going away. They're a super important part. It's a pillar of the game. As far as anyone is concerned, it is literally at the heart and soul. It wouldn't exist without that. So polling is a thing, but we want to make stuff for everybody. Right? We want everybody to be able to, so we staff up the teams. We have people working on PvP. We have people working on PVM. We have people doing bossing and skilling. We have all these people making all these different pieces of content so that you can vote on it. And I don't want you, the player, to ever feel like you have to choose. If I vote for this thing, I'll never see that thing, right? We want to get a lot of things simultaneously working. So that indicates that we need more people to work on things so that you can get them in your hands faster.
Well, I mean, part of this planning stuff we've been talking about, one of the big things we've been talking about right now is how many people can we even hire next year? Because that's all got to be budgeted. I don't want to go down that road. It's boring. But speaking of the numbers, like the numbers we're trying to bring in, like in terms of people, it's a big number. I think we're talking like potentially, not that this is for sure definite yet, but we might be talking like 20 people over the course of next year, which would be an amazing addition to the team, and that's in across all the different roles for old school. So it is pretty amazing to be given that ability to grow so big. So,
and that's a healthy mix of, like you said, devs, QA, artists, community managers, engine devs, who are directly reporting to Old School. Not to mention like other hires around the studio, which we also get some, we get their resource and their time too. Like, Steve's playing support team, the creative services guys, and the marketing and so on like that. Right.
Just really to add to that, Mike. I mean, sorry, Alec. Sweet. What I consider the size of Old School RuneScape, the amount of players it has, the amount of money it makes, the size of the team on it is small. It's remarkably small given where we're at. I don't know how it compares, Mike, to like other games that you've worked on and stuff.
It's probably usually the MMOs I worked on, you're looking at maybe 20% of the money that the game makes gets pushed back into the dev team. You guys are down low, single digits, right? Like it's really amazing what this team has done. And we just want to get it to be able to do more of the things that the team and the players want to do. And our partners, our owners, our executives, to your point, Kieren, they signed off on this. They know exactly what they're getting into, right? And we're moving in the right direction.
So I just want to reiterate the last point, which is currently barely, like you said, a single digit is being pushed back into the dev team, but we're fixing that, and we're meaning there is going to be more hires, and that's going to change that, because the chat is just full of people spamming the word greedy.
No, okay, all right. So the way I'm saying it was coming out wrong, not a surprise. I tried to do a coffee analogy, and I look like an absolute lunatic. But what I'm saying is that's not an exact percentage. I'm just giving you an example, right? The dev team has done a tremendous amount of work for being as small as it is, but it's also not it's not art intensive. It's not like there's a lot of things that allow the team to be able to do the things they're doing. I just would like to see us be able to do more, right? More focus. And ultimately that's what that's what Jagex wants us to do. So, and we're being, I think we're being very supported in that attempt.
Sweet. I mean, in recent Gazettes, the last 2 Gazettes, we've introduced like 3 new J mods each month. And then September's, which whenever it goes live, we tried, and I probably made a HTML error, so my bad, introduces another engine dev. So we are still growing. We've got new hires and stuff. Okay, Mike, you were talking about polling system, which is going to take me to a question we got from the chat, which is, do you think the current polling system will fail and result in a lot of bad updates because of all these new players we're going to get through the scheme? The player thinks, these new players, they might start running around voting brainlessly. Do you agree that might happen?
Well, we've talked about that. We've talked about the impact and then what we could do to ensure that we're getting people who want to vote who are also, trying to say how to word this very carefully, that have the right intent, right? Their heart's in the right place, right? Because, we have you got to be this, you got to be that, you have to have this level range, you have to have, we have things in place, and maybe we need to add more. That's actually all under discussion right now on how we can improve it, right? How we can improve polling. But I think the thing that we have to all pay attention to is that we shouldn't be afraid of people having a vote. We want them to have a vote. We get better with more people putting their input. We get better as a community with that. Doesn't mean it's bad because they'll get to vote. It just means that we need to make sure that people are getting the opportunity and that they have the right amount of buy-in, I guess, right? Are you an old school RuneScape player? If you graduated to that point where you have an opinion and you really want to see something or something else, education. So I'm not afraid of it. I think we need to embrace it, but we do have to acknowledge that it could happen, and that we're going to have to look at the poll system and make sure that it is supporting the game like it needs to.
And it goes to some of these points about restricting votes to certain communities and things like that when the time is right to do that, which we trialed with Ultimate Iron Man. We talked about how if it's only affecting PvP players, maybe we restricted the PvP players based on criteria that would need to be worked out. We're having conversations about that sort of stuff, but it's all complicated. And I see a lot of people in the chat saying, just make it so you got to be maxed before you can vote, or 2,000 total, or whatever. But it's like, but then you just alienate the majority of the player base would be completely alienated. And that doesn't make sense either. It's like saying in real life you can only vote on the president if you're 60 and you've got that life experience.
Or you own a big amount of land. No,
so
but
I don't want to go into politics, but you know what I mean. Like, you got to try and do this right to try and. Because what we're trying to do, if you imagine us, we're trying to use the poll system. It's a way for us to understand what the player base wants. Which part of the player base you're listening to, you want a representative view as best as you can.
But I think it's safe to say, I think that there's part here, I think I get it now. I think there's a part that's missing is the old school team is still the old school team, right? When we have, I've never, and again, I don't want to sound trite or sound sappy and all these things, but you know, it's safe to say that the old school team cares more about the players of this game than they do anything else. And they're not going to do anything that's going to be scary, right? And they're not, it's not like new players that come in and maybe aren't, you know, Cap, and you know, they're going to get to vote on the things that we think are good for the game, which are based on a lot of your views, a lot of the, you know, the experienced players' views, right? We're not doing daily scape. We're not doing all these things. That's not going to happen. It's not going to come up because the team knows that that's not what's good for the game. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Again, you should be smart about it, but I wouldn't worry. I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to seriously negatively impact the game to get more players. I think it will actually be a positive.
I do agree. More votes is great as far as I'm concerned, but you know, getting the right sort of. We want good votes, more votes, but good votes. Talking more.
Let me give you an example, right? Naturally, when we look at poll results, we can analyze them. We can see, okay, players at this sort of total level vote this way on this poll, and players of this sort of level range vote this way. We can look into that sort of stuff, so we can see to some degree what sort of communities are voting which way on different things, and we're constantly thinking about that when we even design content. So we can look at some of that stuff, and what we see. Let's take an obvious example, right? Something is going to make something faster, like the XP rate of this feature is going to buff the skill. Let's say rune crafting, for example. Rune crafting is going to be increased in speed. What we generally see is that higher level players vote no, and lower level players vote yes. And it makes sense. People vote selfishly. I mean, generally, at least, they do. Because high level players are like, I've already got that. It's significant. It means something. It's a proper achievement. You don't necessarily want people in future to get an easier time. But you also don't want that achievement to be diminished. That's, I think, an important thing. Because this whole game's about achievements. It's all about getting your levels up. It's all about getting that item, etc. If it becomes easier in future, your situation is like, well, now it doesn't feel as special. For newer players, they're like, yeah, but runecrafting is utter crap. It's so slow. They want to get it done faster because it just feels bad. So, you know, people have different reasons for voting the way they do, and it doesn't mean either side is wrong. It's just people have different needs. And so we've got to try and look at that from a higher level and say, okay, what's better for the game in its entirety, trying to represent both sides of this. There's no easy answers.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. But there's no reason not to take that input, right? Like that's a, you know, player feedback is the heart of all this. So, and again, we've been talking about it all week. We're talking about it for planning, you know, how we look into next year. It's stuff you're going to see in the Gazette when it comes out, as far as the roadmap's concerned. But the idea that the reason why, at least my personal opinion, is the reason why I think the game is so successful and why I think it'll do so well on all these new platforms and these new places is because, to what Kieren said, progression. right? That it is an achievement. You achieved something and it feels powerful to you, right? We can't lose that. That's part and parcel of why the game is successful. So we're not going to just throw a vote up saying, hey, we want to make progression 25% faster because it'll be cool. That's not going to happen. That would never have gotten to there in the first place. So I ask you to trust us, and that we have, for all players, we have our and your best interest in mind.
So I've got 2 questions from the chat about polls. So Aiza, hey buddy, he asked, so he asked about the percentage of voters who are active players. Like, I don't have that information to hand, but what I can share is that when we made the change to allow votes from your account management tab, that setting, it did drive a big increase in the number of voters from, I think, by about 10% or so of active players. So maybe for the next stream, we'll try and share more insights into, what type of players are voting. Maybe that will help either alleviate or maybe even make worse some of the concerns you've got about polls and who votes and stuff. And the second question on polls I've got is from Astatos, who asks, or says, polls are already pretty big. When the team grows further and more work can be done, how is that going to work with the current polling system? Are we going to see a new large poll every week? The truth is that you're going to see more blogs, you're going to see more polls, but to kind of alleviate that and to make sure you're blogging and polling the right kind of stuff, we want to be working with you a lot earlier and a lot more closely in the design stage. What that looks like yet, we're still working on. I guess I can share a bit of insight into how we've been approaching combat achievements, which are PVM achievement diaries. This is just from the last 2 weeks or so. So we want to talk about combat achievements pretty soon with you guys. We're aiming to release it like early 2021. But we know we're talking about a lot of stuff at the moment. There's a lot of League news coming out. We were talking about Fishing Skill Boss, Mahogany Homes just released, the Poor Sign of Interest just released, Poll 73. We're looking at Soul Wars, mini-game quality of life stuff. So all of that's happening. And we're aware that that's a lot to kind of take in and focus on good feedback. And yeah, someone pointed out in the chat, you've got like rev caves and sentiment issues that we need to make sure we're staying ahead of. So what we've done with combat achievements, the PVM achievement diaries, just to be known, we've built a really short survey aimed at just like initial reaction to the content and trying to understand what you'd expect from it. So when we get to the blog and the poll stage, we've met your expectations. So we've sent a survey to 10,000 players' inbox messages. Some of you might even have one. If you want to, log in and check, you can be welcome to complete the survey. And we've chosen those 10,000 from a random sample of people who voted in the last 2 polls. And it's a completely random sample. I'm not looking for people who vote yes and trying to give us loads of yes men. It might even be that most of those people voted no in those 2 polls. We've chosen those people because you're probably going to be the guys voting in the combat achievements poll. That's just a bit of insight into the type of stuff we want to do with, player engagement, building more feedback loops, working a bit more closely with you, and just trying to make sure we're doing the right things. Okay, we'll move on from the poll topics. That was a good discussion. Mod SteveW, I've got a couple of questions for you. With Mod Weath leaving recently, are we now worried about bots in old school, or more worried?
How does he say it? Weath? I don't know how he says it. Anyway, let's say Weath. That's how I say it. So when Weath told us he was leaving, we acted pretty quickly to try and get his replacement. And obviously, it takes a while. You've got to get an advert out. People have got to see it, respond to it. We've got to screen CVs, do telephone interviews, and then we have an assessment day, and that goes on all day. And obviously, that's an additional challenge as well, working remotely. But yeah, we got the advert out quickly. We had 104 applicants for that role. We telephoned about a quarter of those people, and we saw 4 people going through an assessment day last Friday. And we do have a successful candidate, so it's too soon to kind of announce who that is, because we've still got to do all the contractual stuff and all the employment law stuff, and they've got to leave their current employer and all that sort of thing. But very soon we've got Weath replacement coming. So there'll be a short onboarding period, but there is someone new coming very soon. And it's probably a good time actually just to bust a little bit of a myth, because I know Weath was really close to the old school community, and you'd see him on social platforms. I know he would answer people's DMs and one-to-one messaging and post on Reddit and things like that. And although that was fantastic, it might have given a slight sort of perception to the community that he's the only resource to deal with old school cheating. And, you know, now that he's left, it's almost, you know, here come the bots. And it's not quite like that. You know, there are 7 people in the anti-cheating team, of which Weath was one. So, you know, and they spend about 80% their time on old school. So there is a huge amount of resource. It's not just one person. So, yes, of course, we'll miss Weath. He had some great skills built up over a number of years, and he had a really great insight into the game and the community, and we'll miss that. But it's not literally like one person has gone, you know, the game will be flooded with bots. We've still got all of our bot mitigation stuff in place. The majority of the team are there. And so the best news is we have his replacement coming very soon, and we'll be able to introduce him. And I can say him because all the people on this list are male. But yeah, we'll introduce him as soon as we can.
And so in the Gazette that was meant to be published but isn't yet, soon, you actually introduced one of your new anti-cheating team as well, Mod Trident. And coincidentally, me and Mod Tyron, who is a senior anti-cheating specialist, I believe, in your team.
Yeah.
We were just kind of talking about, you know, the botting situation in old school, and he was basically said, like, the new person, Mod Trident, has been doing an amazing job, knows the game really well, and has been like superbly quick to kind of pick up tools and just really adapt nice and quickly. And in your Gazette, I think you mentioned the number of accounts we ban a year and a day. Do you have those information to hand?
It's about 7 million days a year, something like that. I haven't got the exact number to hand. Yeah, something like that. It's about like, in the time it takes you to say the sentence, you know, Jagex doesn't ban any bots, in the time it takes you to say that, we've banned one person. Something like that. You know, one of those useless kind of facts, but yeah, I think it works out about 7 million a year.
Steve, you're going to get the stream clipped so hard. You know, when I said how many accounts you ran in a year, and you first said about 7, and then you paused, and then you said, you said in the time it takes to say, Jagex don't ban.
So 7 people in the team, so they ban 1 bot per person per year. No, that's not very productive.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what I say now because it's already going to be clipped, yeah. But it's 7 million a year. Yeah.
Okay. Slightly related, but still another question for you. So recently we were speaking quite a lot about game moderation, and we made changes to things like the chat filter. Did that change have the effect you wanted? If so, what's next? Did any other changes happen?
Yeah. So I mean, we are monitoring that. I mean, it's one of the measures is how many abuse reports we get about offensive language. And obviously, if we're moderating a little bit more strictly, if we're taking action where people are using this clear kind of hate language, we should see the number of reports going down. I mean, it's not an exact science, and obviously there are other influencing factors on that. But using that as a measure, then the number of reports has been slowly going down, and it's now about 20% below where it was when we first launched the hard-coded, always-on chat filter stuff. So that's one indicator that it's having an effect. And yeah, we've got a team of people processing those reports now. I mean, people are, you know, we still see a lot of people trying to get around the chat filter. We knew that was an issue with the chat filter because it is quite a blunt tool. It was never intended to be able to catch every variation of every hate term. But that's why we have this kind of backup now, where if issues are reported to us, then we can deal with it. But we're dealing with them, but you know, as a priority. Took us a little bit of while to get up to speed with it, probably a couple of weeks. So there was a short delay when we first launched, but we're now fully up to speed and processing them very quickly. So all the indicators are that it is having an impact. It's not to say that, you know, there's not still elements of toxicity and stuff, challenges for us to address. There clearly is, but I think if you take the silo of hate language, then we're in a better, well, not probably, we are in a better place now than we've been in the past. There's now other things to kind of focus on and think about now.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to come back to you with one more question from the chat. How do you and the rest of the Play Sport team feel about doing bot busting streams? Do you think we could do another bot busting stream anytime soon?
Yeah, I know people love them. It's just about the most least productive way of tackling bots. So it's not there to remove bots from the game, because the volume you can do is just tiny compared to what we do off stream when we're just doing the day job. But I know people like the kind of drama of it and seeing what's in the bot's bank and doing all that sort of stuff. So as an engagement piece and just to let you meet some of the team, then certainly happy to do that. But yeah, I know people often say, "Oh, just send a JMod to this heavily botted place. Just send a JMod there." Well, we can't do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on every server. And so but yeah, as a fun piece, as an engagement piece, and I know people like seeing behind the scenes stuff. Then yeah, we'll do that. Maybe that should be the first thing for Weath's replacement. That can be his kind of once he's up to speed and everything. That can be his first kind of go meet the community and do a bot bust stream. I'll sign up to that now, so we'll do that.
So you can dress up as a bot again if you want.
I was going to say, why do I need
just
to
need
do
a
that?
green t-shirt, really.
Why does SteveW look like one? We can just whack him in a green shirt. Sorted.
Yeah, is that what they're saying? Yeah. Fair.
I will do it if Aiza will join me. I will do it again. You know what? I reckon the bald cap is in the box underneath my desk here. It's not clean, so it's probably still super gross. We'll investigate that. Sounds cool. It sounds like, I put you on the spot there, Steve. I made you say yes, so we'll get that going again.
We'll do it. There's something else they can clip now and quote back. Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay, Kieren, I'm coming to you with some game-related questions here. Can you give an update on some project statuses for us? Evil Jesus asks, is there any insight on the clan rework or the clan chat or the clan system, however you want to phrase it?
I don't have anything to hand to say about it, but it is being worked on. One of the biggest elements that is being worked on is the high scores stuff. So we need a way to be able to put a clan on a high scores, basically a group. This same high scores needs done for Group Iron Man, which is why it's getting worked on so intensely. And I do believe Ash is scheduled to be working on clans again very soon from a content side, because all that work's been mostly tech side. So it's in progress, but it is going to be 2021 before it's launched.
Sweet. And now I know the answer, but for the benefit of the stream, how does that affect Group Iron Man and the release date there?
Group Iron Man is dependent on all the clan tech, so it'll be clans first, then Group Iron Man. You won't have a fixed time reference to give you. I mean, I hate the fact that Group Iron Man isn't here already because I want it so badly to be out. But yeah, it'll be beyond clans. So I think right now I would hesitate to give you a fixed date, but we're hoping the first half of next year.
Awesome. Right, Mod Mike D, a question for you. I don't know if you can answer it. Not in terms of are you allowed, just more do you have the knowledge? But I'm asking you because you're a super important guy. The old school team is growing. Is Jagex still looking mostly for people from England, or are we now more open to a global workforce since we've proven a bit of an ability to work remotely?
That's a tough one. I know that one of the people that I've been asked to interview, I won't go any further than that, is actually based out of Texas, not too far from where I'm at. But I think the idea is they would like us to be in and out of the studio. Some of the best work I think everybody does is together. So I'm trying not to. Zoom is a great tool, but doesn't necessarily replace that kind of getting in the same room together vibe. So I would say they are open to it. I think it would be very dependent on the kind of role it is, but I believe they're more open to it than they were today, the 175th day of March. It has literally been I remember us talking about it, saying, oh hey, could we be remote? And everyone's like, nah, no possible way. And like 9 days later, everybody was working remote from home. So I think in the last, X number of months, we've proven that we can operate like this. But so yeah, to answer your question, yes, I think they are open to it. But I also think it's very dependent upon what kind of role it is.
Sweet. Okay, I have got some pretty good news. Mod Acorn, amazing human being, has been able to publish the Gillinor Gazette. And you know what? We were right. It was because it was a bit too long. So we're going to try and figure out how to work that around. We've kept most of the really interesting content, which means that sorry, Steve, we've kind of ditched a bit of support stuff, but we're going to bring it back as best we can soon.
Okay.
So, !Gazette, 1Z, 2 T's. Let me expand that in the chat. So, we've got the usual message from Mod Mike D. Mod Mike D, you talk about RuneScape on Steam, you talk about secret tech stuff, but not in much detail. It stays a secret. We talk about roadmap changes. We explain that the fishing skill boss has been delayed a little bit because we didn't poll it as soon as we initially planned to. We had lots of feedback to deal with. We talk about combat achievements and the fact that, that's also been delayed because we need to do more work blogging and polling and understanding what kind of content you want. Talk about the fact that we're now polling minigame improvements. That's also had a knock-on effect on our roadmap. You've made it super clear that in addition to things like Soul Wars and the fishing skill boss, you want us to pay more time to existing minigame content, and that's what we're going to do. And we've also said, you know what, we need to make sure we're committing enough time to being able to stay flexible on the really big issues, sentiment stuff, things like Revenant Caves. We've kind of offered you a revised roadmap of how we expect the rest of the year and like early H1 2021 to look. We give you a project status update on all different types of content statuses, but also, account security, logging issues, those types of things we were talking about earlier in the stream. Mod Husky and Mod Flippy have put together an amazing Leagues 2 article. If you're interested in Trailblazer, definitely take a look at that. This is probably why we couldn't post a blog, because it's so damn long. Lots of cool images and relic leaks and interface leaks, so definitely take a look there. What else we got in the Gazette? Yeah, the ins and outs. There's a new JMod, a new engine dev, so that's exciting. I think what do we say? Yeah, that's somebody else who can get to work on that elusive engine. Because, you talk a lot about us and engine work, and we have hired a lot of engine devs lately. We have, we say goodbye to Mod Weath in that section, and we also announced, I'm gonna announce it for her. Mod Acorn is no longer a senior community manager. She has changed role. She's still working super closely with the old school team. She's now working in the production part of the team. It means you might see less of her on streams, more of me, but it means that she gets to work way more closely with game content and the development process. It also means that I'm hiring for another senior community manager to replace her. And lastly, in that blog, in the Gazette, so !Gazette, 1Z, 2 T's, there's a little article about, porting RuneScape content to old school. We want to know how you feel about it. We've added things like Song of the Elves and Sins of the Father, which were inspired by RuneScape, or, at least continue those quest lines. Similarly, Dragon Slayer 2 is heavily influenced by While Gothic Sleeps. We've spoken about Soul Wars, and we want to know how you feel about other types of content. Do you want us to investigate, bring in more quests or more bosses, Nex or Queen Black Dragon, or more mini games or more D&Ds? Do you want shooting stars? Do you want penguin hunting? Those kind of stuff. And you might say, yeah, I do want that, or you might say no. We want to find that out. We know a lot of you played RuneScape between 2007 and 2011. And you tell us regularly that you miss content like Stealing Creation or Fist of Gothics. But we also know a lot of you are rather old school, stays true to being old school, 2007, or we focus on making new content. So, !Gazette will be taken to the Gillinor Gazette, and you can take the survey and let us know how you feel about porting content from RuneScape to old school. Oof, that was a big sell. It's a good read. It's a long read.
Even your explanation was long.
Mod JD just sent me a link, Steve, and it's your face. Oh, that's good. I'll send you that
God.
after. It's a Reddit thread called Wait What, and it's Mod Steve compared to a bot character in old school.
Okay.
love Wacker in the chat. I thought you'd be wearing a cap. I usually see you in meetings in caps.
Yeah, that's why. So I don't get all this happen to me.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, you had, everybody talks about Sween's luxurious locks. You had a pretty, you had such a do when I started working there.
Yeah, I had quite long hair, and then this is my lockdown. I went to a barber, and it was so much hassle. I had to book in advance. I had to stand outside in the rain. Had to wear a mask. I understand we have to do all that stuff, but I just thought, oh, you know what? Low maintenance. Get a buzz clipper thing, just doing stuff at home. Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
so I'm on Reddit now.
You're on Reddit. Congratulations, you made it.
You knew that was going to happen, though.
Good. Made my weekend.
I'm thinking we wrap up the stream. We started late and we're finishing a bit later to make up for it. The Gazette is now live. We've spoken about Steam. We've spoken about account security, the too many login attempts issue. We're talking about team growth, talking about replacing Mod Weath, game moderation, progress updates on things like clans and group Iron Man. A lot of talk about polls. So I think we've covered a lot. I think that was a good stream. I'll go through the announcements and then we'll wrap up properly. So announcements, Leagues 2, Trailblazer. We've been talking a lot about that recently. Poll for the rewards recently ended. Everything passed. And we'll be in a position to be talking about release dates and that kind of exciting stuff really, really soon. So stay tuned for that. I wish I could tell you when, but not yet. The Gillingham Gazette. I just spoke at length about that. I'm not going to do it again. ! Gazette. You can read that Gazette. And then lastly, Prime Gaming is here. So !Prime. That'll give you instructions on how to get 7 days of membership when you link your old school RuneScape account, Prime Gaming. So, anybody want to say anything else before we say farewell?
I don't know what else we could possibly say.
Well, we'll be back next week. Not next week, that's a lie. Next month for the leadership live stream. We'll be back next week with a normal stream. We're aiming for 2 streams, one on Monday and one on Thursday. But for us and this group here, we'll see you next month alongside the October Gazette. We best get writing that soon, Kieren.
I just realised I was muted and chat's letting me know because I was like sat here talking. All good though. I was just saying it's been fun. Some good discussions today.
Okay, in that case, old school players, enjoy your weekend. Have a great one. Stay safe. Take care. Play lots of old school. And then everybody else on this call, we've got a little content planning meeting to get to. So I'll see you there.
You do, and we're 20 or 15 minutes.
We've got Moddad, Mosh. Who's waiting for us? Ash and Ed are waiting for us. We best join.
I know. This is going to be pretty. This is going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right. Okay. That's it. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Thank you, Kieren, Mike D, Steve. Thank you, Mod Spear and Mod Sani behind the scenes. Bye bye, everybody.
Always a pleasure.
Bye.